Some big news in the world of AI today, including some pretty interesting and exciting rollouts from OpenAI. They showcase some of the O1 uses at the developer conference, and they are, in a word, shocking. Can I say shocking? It's Halloween. Let me say shocking. If there's one day a year I can get away with using that word, it's Halloween. Happy Halloween to everyone that celebrates. And if you're wondering, this was generated by Midjourney. Yes, it's a human jack-o'-lantern, and no, I don't think I'll ever not be impressed with the just absolutely insane stuff that Midjourney can produce. There might be other models that beat it in certain categories, but in terms of like those weird combination of things for which there just isn't that much data, how many pictures like this have you seen in your life? It just seems to capture it really, really well. So it came as a bit of surprise that there's another image generation model that blew Midjourney out of the water. It's spooky, to say the least. But let's dive in. Shout out to Spenser Bentley, who's a great follow on Twitter X, and he's the developer forum leader at community.openai.com. He posts really good stuff. He reposts some really good stuff, really just A+ stuff. He's also got a growing YouTube channel. I'll link that in the description below. And here's a quick clip he posted from the OpenAI Developer Conference in the UK, I believe, showcasing some of the things that the O1 model can do, including flying a drone. I'll move my big head out of the way, and let's take a look.
The API is that I can bring it into my favorite IDs. So in this case, for instance, I'll choose the cursor. And here I prepare this prompt that I'm going to send right away so I can comment it while it's thinking. So what I've done here is that I prepared the React frontend that you just saw on screen. It has like basic buttons and everything, but of course for now, like literally nothing to work with it. And there's also no server code. As you can tell, the file is empty. So what I did here is I asked the one, okay, so I have this drone, I have an interface, now help me build the whole server. Also wire up all of the buttons and the components that we prepared before. And also, we worked on a video thing before with O1, and it was pretty amazing to me, by the way, to see O1 troubleshoot FFmpeg in real time. So I saved that in another file. And what I'm trying to do here is like wire up everything together. Like basically like letting O1 mini be the architect. It sounds like the response just appeared, so it just completed the backend implementation. So I'm going to copy that over here. It sounds like it found out how to interface with Tableau or with UTP packets. I think that's right. I'm going to carry on here, and now let's take a look at the command interface I had. Now, what's interesting is you can tell, it now started to prepare the on-click events and figure out what I meant with every one of the buttons and send a command. So if I say apply here, I'm going to accept the changes, and now all my buttons are wired up. So that looks good. Okay, so I think now it's time to put it to test. So what I'll do is like I'll turn on the Tableau. It's going to emit its own Wi-Fi network. And so from then, I should be able to connect to it. So let's see if I can find this Wi-Fi. Not yet. It's going to show up in a second. Let's see if it's in there. It was good. Great. So I am now connecting to it. Sweet. I'll put it down right there, and I will go back to the terminal to start the server we just created. Now, let's take a look at the front end that's already running. Good news, it fetched the battery level, so that's a good sign. I'm going to try to start the video stream to see if that was wired up. It was. Great. So now the real test is ready to take off and see what happens. All right. That works. So let's see if the buttons actually work. If the on-click events were wired up correctly. I guess it's a good time for a selfie. Yeah, indeed. Let's take a screenshot of that. If you want to wave at the camera, I'll save it for later. Awesome. And also, I have a surprise new button, so let's see what decided with this. Cool. Wasn't that amazing? And all I mean was the architect to bring the low-level code and connecting it to my front-end over WebSockets. And so we're really entering a new paradigm with reasoning. We can't wait to...
One thing that I predicted a while back, probably last year, is that the next sort of, 5-10 years will be a race to shove LLMs, large language models like ChatGPT, Anthropic, Claude, etc., into everything, into your car, your thermostat, and your drone, apparently, which can feel a little bit dystopian just because of the many various uses we have for drones. But also, if you think about it, your camera, take a look at this image, right? So we're looking up here to see the presentation. We're trying to read the buttons and kind of see what's happening there on screen. And everything's highly, highly blurred. The camera decides that presentation isn't that important and no one needs to see it. But this guy's temple and sideburns, 4K resolution. Focus all our resources on this. Anyways, moving right along, we have this next clip. Now, we've seen something similar in one of the previous Dev Day conferences where they were ordering strawberries, I think, or something like that. Here, we're ordering pies. Take a look.
Now, with voice. And so if I type in right here, let's say London.
Here's London for you.
So now, as you can tell, I added a few lines of code with the real-time API client. So now I can have this natural conversation with my app. So let's take a look. I'm planning my trip to London and Singapore. Let's say Singapore next week, actually.
Singapore is ready for your visit.
Awesome. Can you show me some places I could check out while I'm there?
Here are some great spots in Singapore.
Nice. I'm thinking I might need an hotel to stay around there. Can you help me?
Here are some hotels in Singapore.
Nice. Can you show me more details about these three?
Here are more details on the hotels.
Great. So two things to highlight here. On the left, as I'm having this conversation with the app, you can tell the transcript is happening with all of the conversation. But on the right side, the coolest thing is that the real-time API has access to tools. So all of you can use it and call your own functions, your own APIs, your own tools. And so in this case, I was able to kind of place pins on the map, annotate the map, zoom on it, fetch details from the internet, and even put some details like this on the screen. And so we really think you're going to love the real-time API. Your users are going to be delighted to have this new way to interact, whether they're driving, cooking, learning, maybe on the go trying to be more productive. And now let's try something a bit harder though. So what if we were able to take this real-time API and the capabilities that it has to connect to APIs and tools, but let's go outside of just this voice interface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the phone conversation and have another scenario. Let's go back to London now, please, and specifically around the brewery on Chiswell Street.
We're back to the brewery on Chiswell Street.
Sweet. I have hundreds of developers here in the room. They might enjoy a little snack. Can you show me some pie shops around here, maybe?
Here are some pie shops nearby.
Pretty cool. Can you show me more details about these three things?
Here are more details on the pie shops.
Great. So I'll pause right here. And now you might have noticed that the second one here is actually a demo spot. It's not a real place. The other two are. But what we're going to do now is that because this second one seems to accept AI orders, what if we're able to use in the context of this Wanderlust app, not just the real-time API, but also Twilio's phone calling capabilities to connect and place phone calls. So for that, I'm going to invite Elon from our developer experience team to join me on stage.
Elon?
Thanks, Elon. I'm going to jump back into the conversation, and I'll ask Wanderlust to do some action for me that would leverage this capability of using real-time API plus Twilio together.
He's not saying Elon, is he?
Right, so I think Elon's push buys seem very interesting. Could you please call them for me, and maybe if you could see if they could get us, say, like 200 pies, maybe a mix of meat and veggie options, but please keep the budget under £1,000.
I'm calling Ilan's Posh Pies now to arrange your order.
Hello. Hi, is this Ilan? I'm calling on behalf of Rene.
Yeah, this is Alonso. How can I help you?
Great. I wanted to ask about the kinds of pies you offer.
Alon.
What do you have available?
Yeah, meat pies, we have veggie pies, we have apple pies, we have all kinds of pies.
Perfect. How much would 100 meat and 100 vegetarian pies cost?
Ooh, that's a lot of pies. That'll come out to around, I don't know, 1,200 pounds.
That's a bit over our budget.
That's interesting.
I don't know if I can put at 800, but I'll meet you at 1,000 if you guys feature us at your event.
Oh, it's negotiating? Wow.
Okay, so at 1,000 pounds.
Yes, 1,000 pounds. Can you confirm the order for me, please?
Yeah, so you said 100 meat, 100 vegetarian.
I gotta say, I'm a little bit surprised it started like haggling for the price over the price of the pies. Is that I didn't think it would go there. I would assume it would try to reduce the order, like, oh, let's cut it down so it's under, 1,000, whatever the budget was, 1,000 pounds. But no, ChatGPT, God bless you. You're like, why don't you come down to 800 pounds, which is even more amazing because it's not even haggling for the budget. It has to kind of undercut, right? It's like opening offer, and then, the guy goes to 1,000. Will this be a thing? Will people create obnoxious haggling bots that call various places to squeeze the human out of the best possible deal for whatever products they're selling? And as I'm thinking about it, yes, of course that will be a thing. How could it not? This will have to become kind of an AI arms race. Your offensive bots haggling the price down, your defensive bots, so you don't have to sit there talking to the AI that's like fielding all the questions. What a time to be alive.
That's correct. I'd like to place the order for 100 meat and 100 vegetarian pies. When can we expect delivery?
Oh, where are you located?
We'll need delivery to the brewery at 52 Chipwell Street.
Oh, for sure. We're actually right next door.
Fantastic. Thank you. We look forward to the pie. Goodbye.
Okay, it'll be there in like 43 seconds. Goodbye.
Isn't that cool? It's obviously just a simple example of showing the power of the real-time API combined with tools, APIs of your own, of third-party APIs.
This is another great demo posted by a different person on Twitter. I'll link his profile down below as well. By the way, after this, we're going to take a look at the advanced voice mode, which was just enabled for the desktop app for ChatGPT. Just keep that in mind because stuff like this is going to be more and more accessible on all the various devices for different use cases. So a lot of this is kind of like a taste of things to come.
Hey, so can you tell me, what is the biggest planet in the solar system?
Absolutely. The biggest planet in our solar system is Jupiter. It's so massive, it has more than twice the mass of all the other planets combined. Jupiter is the giant among giants.
Okay, great. So real-time interaction works, and I think it's going to be a more fun way of learning. But let's see if we can make it a bit more interactive. Hey, I'm curious about Earth.
Sure thing. Earth is the third planet from the Sun and the only one known to support life. It's packed with diverse ecosystems, abundant water, and a protective atmosphere that shields us from harmful solar radiation. Do you want to know more about Earth's characteristics?
Well, I see that there's actually a lot of water there. So can you tell me, how much land is there versus water?
Absolutely. Approximately 71% of Earth's surface is covered by water, while the remaining 29% is land. Our blue marble truly lives up to its name. Let me show you this on a pie chart. Here's the breakdown of Earth's surface.
Okay, great, thank you. I actually have a question about Mars now.
Mars, the red planet. What would you like to know?
So I heard there was a lot of volcanoes there. Can you tell me, which one is the biggest?
Absolutely, the biggest volcano on Mars, and in the entire solar system, is Olympus Mons. It's about 13.6 miles, nearly 3 times the height of Mount Everest. Would you like more information on Olympus Mons?
Yeah, can you tell me, what are the 3 biggest volcanoes and show me their heights?
Certainly. The 3 biggest volcanoes on Mars are 1. Olympus Mons, 13.6 miles, 22 kilometers high. 2. Asclepius Mons, about 11.3 miles, 18.1 kilometers high. 3. Arcia Mons, around 11.2 miles, 18 kilometers high.
Okay, great, thank you. Just learned something. Great. So let's talk about what happened here. Not only
I've mentioned this before, but one area where I think AI is going to make just a very big positive change and fairly soon is in the education space. I've mentioned this before, but how we teach kids is something that's referred to as the 2 sigma problem. And basically the idea, and this is greatly simplifying, is that if we give students one-on-one instruction and we allow them to master subject at their own pace instead of following along with the class, taking it longer on some, less on others, that they've mastered faster, combine that with one-on-one tutoring, that improves their learning, their performance, their achievement, 2 standard deviations to the right. Basically, all the D and C students become B's and A's. If you've ever had a very good one-on-one instruction, a very good one-on-one tutor, you might have seen how powerful this is. Unfortunately, we never had the resources to make this possible for every single student. We had to pack everybody in a class on a semester or quarter system. Everybody goes at the same pace, right? One teacher to, 20, 30, 40 kids. AI, specifically large language models, seem like they could rapidly transform the education system, right? Improve it to standard deviations just by providing one-on-one customized instructions and tutoring to the kids, not to mention that it would be available everywhere where we can get an internet connection or a laptop, and also any language. It can be made in any language. Now, of course, we still have to think about socialization and stuff like that, make sure the kids aren't complete hermits, right, in front of their AI assistant, but in terms of just the ability to learn, I think this will be game-changing, both for kids and adults. In other news, advanced voice mode is available to free users in a lot of countries and territories, including Liechtenstein. So it's now available to the entire population of Liechtenstein. That's dozens and dozens of people. Another spooky Halloween release is ChatGPT Search. Get fast, timely answers with links to relevant web sources. So certainly this seems similar to Perplexity. Perplexity is phenomenal. I've been using it. If you haven't tried it, well, I mean, it's great. We have yet to see which one's going to be better, ChatGPT or Perplexity. But Perplexity has been the one to beat. It's been absolutely crushing it. So here's ChatGPT. Let's search for today's top news in Liechtenstein. Here's the top news for Liechtenstein. Notice that each one comes with a link to the source, right? So you can verify for yourself it's correct, sort of like citing their sources, etc. They have things like AP News, Reuters, Wikipedia, etc. Surprisingly, ChatGPT's advanced voice mode being made available to the free users of Liechtenstein is not a kind of thought it would be. Next, we had Sam Altman making a digital appearance at the OpenAI Developer Conference, talking about, among other things, AI agents. Let's take a listen.
People think about agents that actually they get wrong. Well, it's more like I don't think any of us yet have an intuition for what this is going to be like. We're all gesturing at something that seems important. Maybe I can give the following example. When people talk about an AI agent acting on their behalf, the main example they seem to give, fairly consistently, is, you can ask the agent to go book you a restaurant reservation, and either it can use OpenTable or it can call the restaurant.
The screen froze.
Okay, sure, that's a mildly annoying thing to have to do, and maybe saves you some work. One of the things that I think is interesting is a world where you can just do things that you wouldn't or couldn't do as a human. So what if instead of calling one restaurant to make a reservation, my agent would call me 300 and figure out which one had the best food for me or some special thing available or whatever. And then you would say, well, that's really annoying if your agent is calling 300 restaurants. But if it's an agent answering each of those 300 places, then no problem. And it can be this massive and parallel thing that a human can't do. So that's a trivial example, but there are these limitations to human bandwidth that maybe these agents won't have. The category I think though is more interesting is not the one that people normally talk about, right? You have this thing called restaurants for you. But something that's more like a really smart senior coworker, where you can like collaborate on a project with, and the agent can go do like a 2-day task or 2-week task really well, and paying you at when it has questions, but come back to you with like a great work product.
Does this fundamentally change the way that SaaS is priced? When you think about extraction of value blending, and normally it's on a per seat basis, but now you're actually replacing labor, so to speak. How do you think about the future of pricing with that in mind when you are such a core part of an enterprise workforce?
Like how it will price or what it will do for people who are...
No, like how will it price?
Oh.
We always have per seat pricing.
I'll speculate here for fun, but we really have no idea.
I mean, Sam, I'm a venture investor for a living, so we speculate for fun all the time. It's okay.
I can imagine a world where you could say, like, I want 1 GPU or 10 GPUs or 100 GPUs to just be, like, churning on my problems all the time. And it's not like, you're not, like, paying per seat or even per agent, but you're, like, it's priced based off the amount of compute that's, like, working on, playing problems all the time.
Do we need to build specific models for agentic use, or do we not? How do you think about that?
That's a good question.
There's a huge amount of infrastructure and scaffolding to build for sure, but I think O1 points the way to a model that is capable of doing great agentic tasks. I hate the word agentic, by the way. I'd love it if we could come up with a...
What would you like? This is your chance to coin a new word.
I don't know.
This could be a spoiler alert. That really is something.
I'll keep thinking more talk.
On the model side, Sam, everyone says that models are depreciating assets, the commoditization of models is so rife. How do you respond and think about that? And when you think about the increasing capital intensity to train models, are we actually seeing a reversion of that where it requires so much money that actually very few people can do it?
It's definitely true that they're depreciating assets. This thing that they're not, though, worth as much as they cost to train, that seems totally wrong. To say nothing of the fact that there's a positive compounding effect as you learn to train these models, you get better at training the next one. But the actual revenue we can make from the model, I think, justifies the investment. To be fair, I don't think that's true for everyone, and there are probably too many people training very similar models, and if you're a little behind, or if you don't have a product with the sort of multiple rules and things that make that product sticky and valuable, then yeah, maybe you can't. Maybe it's harder to get a return on the investment. We're very fortunate to have ChatGPT and hundreds of millions of people that use our models, and so even if it costs a lot, we can tell how much does that cost across a lot of people.
How do you think about how OpenAI models continue to differentiate over time, and where you most want to focus to expand that differentiation?
Reasoning is our current most important area of focus. I think this is what unlocks the next massive leap forward in value created. So we'll improve that in lots of ways. We will do multimodal work. We will do other features in the models that we think are super important to the ways that people want to use these things.
How do you think about reasoning in multimodal work like that? The challenges, what you want to achieve. Love to understand that.
Reasoning in multimodalities.
Yeah.
I hope it's just going to work. I mean, it obviously takes some doing to get done, but people, when they're babies and toddlers, before they're good at language, can still do quite complex visual reasoning. So clearly, it's impossible.
Totally is. How will vision capabilities scale with new inference time paradigms set by O1?
without spoiling anything, I would expect rapid progress in image-based models.
It's a bit of a carrot sound. Okay.
Image-based models.
One thing, try to tease that out might get me in real trouble. GPT's output is generally, I like this one a lot. Yeah, I don't think we are nearly British enough in a lot of GPT's output. GPT's output is generally American in spelling and tone. How do we think about internationalization with models, different cultures, different languages, and how important that is?
It's interesting. I don't use British English. I haven't tried, but I would have guessed that it's really good at doing British English. Is it not? Okay, we'll look at that. We can get your answers.
There we go. How does OpenAI make breakthroughs in terms of core reasoning? Do we need to start pushing into reinforcement learning as a pathway, or other new techniques aside from the transformer?
There's two questions in there. There's how we do it, and then, there's everyone's favorite question, which is what comes beyond the transformer. How we do it is like our special sauce. It's easy. It's really easy to copy something you know works. And one of the reasons that people don't talk about why it's so easy is you have the conviction to know it's possible. And so after a research lab does something, even if you don't know exactly how they did it, it's, say, easy, but it's doable to go off and copy it. And you can see this in the replications of GPT-4, and I'm sure you'll see this in replications of O1. What is really hard, and the thing that I'm most proud of about our culture, is the repeated ability to go off and do something new and totally unproven. And a lot of organizations, not talking about AI research, just generally, a lot of organizations talk about the ability to do this. There are very few that do, across any field. And in some sense, I think this is one of the most important inputs to human progress. So one of the retirement things I fantasize about doing is writing a book of everything I've learned about how to build an organization and a culture that does this thing, not the organization that just copies what everybody else has done. Because I think this is something that the world could have a lot more of. It's limited by human talent, but there's a huge amount of wasted human talent because this is not an organization, style, culture, whatever you want to call it, that we are good at building. So I'd love way more of that, and that is, I think, the thing most special about us.
Sam, how is human talent wasted?
Oh, there's just a lot of really talented people in the world that are not working to their full potential because they work.
So that one got cut off, unfortunately. If I find the full video, a link to it, I'll link it down below. But I think most of the stuff about agents that was caught on camera there, which you just saw. There's two more sort of bits of news today. One is advanced voice mode rolls out on the ChatGPT desktop app, both Windows and Mac OS. And also there was a new mystery model floating around that was topping the leaderboards. We'll also take a look at what that was and take it out for a spin.
And that's coming tomorrow, because it's Halloween, and Wes needs to go contribute to childhood obesity by giving out high fructose corn syrup-filled snacks. Yay.